they're all really good players. So I'm not trying to discount that, but that was crazy.
We want to learn how to dunk.
Well, we do have the lower goals, so we can do that. No invite to the cat.
No invite.
You haven't been. If you sponsor,
she's a big podcaster, almost as big as this one. Close. Yeah.
Coach Brett Ballard, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me. I want to just shout you guys out. I appreciate what you guys are doing for Topeka. I'm a big believer that you get whatever you look for in life. And so I think if you look for positive things, then you'll find positive things. I think if you look for negative things, then, especially on social media, if you look for them.
Yeah.
And so what you guys are doing for Topeka, just, putting a positive light out there and bringing people in that are doing great things in our community, like that's big for us. And I appreciate that. I listen to a lot of your podcasts. You guys are doing a great job with that. So I'm happy to be on here and appreciate what you guys are doing for our city.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
he's one of our 10 followers.
That's right. Come on, let's go. So you're obviously the head coach at Washburn basketball here in Topeka, Kansas. You guys had an incredible season this last season. You've been building an incredible program. Do you want to just give a quick highlight reel on your background, how you came to be head coach? And
Yeah. So I grew up in Hutchinson, Kansas, and actually went to junior college out of there at a Hutch. That's kind of what level I got recruited to. And then I after junior college, I was getting recruited by Division I's and Division II's and NAIAs. I didn't really know what direction I wanted to go. I really wanted to coach and teach, so got a connection to KU through my junior college coaches, and I got an opportunity to be a preferred walk-on there. So I went to Kansas and played for Coach Williams, and really went. I was a KU fan growing up, like it was like a dream scenario for me, and I really went more than anything because I knew I was going to learn from Coach Williams, and then hopefully take that into being a great high school coach.
Oh wow!
And use those experiences for that. I was fortunate enough there. I got on scholarship, got to play some, which was awesome, and played on a Final Four team there, and had an incredible experience.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Still planning on really going. I was a secondary education major, still planning on going into teaching. And Coach Williams left right after my senior year after my senior year. He left for North Carolina, and Coach Self came in. So I went and met with Coach Self because I was like, well, maybe I could try to. I was kind of just really trying to delay the real world more than anything. Like I was like, how can I put off student teaching and the real world as long as possible? Not really even with the plan of being a college coach, but I went and met with Coach Self, and he didn't really have a spot, but he was like, you could volunteer if you want. I was like, all right. So I ended up volunteering my first year for him, just doing video stuff and odds and ends around the office. And then second year, I got the full-time video spot. Was with him for 7 years in an ops spot, video spot. That was incredible. Was there in 2008. We won the national championship. And so I played for Coach Williams, and then I'm learning from Coach Self. So probably two of the top 10 college basketball coaches of all time, or top 15 or whatever ranking. I mean, top 20 for sure. And so I was really blessed. Boom, boom, boom. I won't go through the whole thing, but ended up getting an opportunity to come back here and be the head coach at Washburn University. And I knew about Washburn growing up, just being a Kansas guy. Knew it'd be a hard job to get, but was very fortunate to get the job, and just finished year 8.
Wow.
I think a couple things that last year was, and I'm sure we'll get into last year a little bit. Last year was an elite year and very, very special. I do sometimes feel like I have to maybe I don't know if defend's the right word, but I want to make sure the guys that came before that are respected. Like we'd been to 5 national tournaments out of the 7 years that we had a tournament.
Wow.
And so in Division II, you have regions. There's 8 regions. Okay. They're going to take 8 teams per region. We're in the toughest region in basketball and in some other sports in the country. So if you make the 8 out of our region, to the NCAA tournament, you have had in our region, that means you've had a special year.
Wow.
So we've been there 5 out of the 7. So we've had some really good teams here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Before, I think sometimes people are like, oh man, you guys are just good this year because we got a little more notoriety, and I understand that, but we've been pretty good. And I don't say that for me. I never want our guys that came before us to feel disrespected because they've done a lot, like competed for MIAA championships, won an MIAA conference tournament championship, played in NCAA tournament, won NCAA tournament games. So I'm proud of what we built before this, and we had the foundation there. Last year's team was incredible. We took the next step, and great group of guys. I'd say this all the time. They were winners on the court and off the court.
Yeah.
A lot of fun to coach.
That's cool. Really quick. So back when you were at KU, did you had kind of like a providential moment, like with how you got the job with Bill Self? Wasn't there like a story kind of in there where like you stepped into a meeting that you weren't maybe supposed to be in or something, but you were like
a little bit. So two things that happened. I think it's life lessons. I think first of all, I went and met with Coach Self to see if I could get on the staff, and I love Coach. He's great, and he's coaches all over the place. So when I'm meeting with him, I'm like, I don't even think this guy's listening to me, but he was like, being around him, I just know how he operates now. But at the time, I'm like, I don't even know if he's even paying it. I think I'm just giving this spiel for nothing. And he told me, he goes, hey, I don't really have a spot, but if you want to come volunteer. So I really left out of there. I was like, well, that was kind of a waste of time. Not a waste of time, but I was like, well,
sure, didn't pan out.
I talked to my dad, and he's like, hey, how'd your meeting with Coach go? He goes, well, he doesn't really have anything. He said he could volunteer. My dad's like, well, you're still young. You don't have any kids yet. You don't have any, like, why don't you just keep working? I was doing some other stuff, and why don't you go volunteer? Like, he lets you be a part of the program. So I think that was a lesson in, I think young people sometimes think that, you're going to start here.
Right.
And sometimes you gotta get that foot in the door
right.
and then prove yourself at whatever opportunity you get.
Right.
And I think that was a really valuable lesson to me to learn, like, okay, I needed to take advantage of what that opportunity was. And then, so even then though, like I was coming in and like, I don't even think Coach knew I was around most of the time. Like I was just like coming in, just trying to stay out of the way, really.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, you probably asked in that first few months, you probably didn't even know I was around, but they were meeting, this was like a day before their first game, and they were meeting about who was going to film the games. And they were like, and I could hear the meeting, but I wasn't in the meeting. I probably, I was eavesdropping a little bit, but it was right next door. So I kind of popped my head and it's like, hey, like if you guys need somebody to film, I'll film the games. Cause I knew like another opportunity, and I knew like that person got to go on the road too. Like you had to take that guy on the road. So like in my mind, like selfish, I was like, I'm going to get to go on the road. Yeah. And so they're like, yeah, sure. So I filmed the games the first couple of years, and that was back before we had some of the technology now. So like that was really important to get to film it, and then that was the film they watched to break down everything.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, that's kind of how I got another opportunity there. And
kind of inched your way through the door.
You said you were on the staff for the 08 team?
Yeah. I was on the bench. Yeah, I was on the bench. Yeah, that was cool. That's
wild, bro.
That game, so I've been a KU fan. Like I grew up a Jayhawk fan.
Yeah.
Like I had the Jayhawk gear. I was always watching. That was my team. We were a Jayhawk family. And so, for anybody that knows KU basketball, like we had so many good teams for a long stretch of time, and, great Jock Vaughn and Paul Pierce and Rafe LaFrenz and all these great players, and didn't win a national championship for a long time. So I can remember at the end of that game, we're down 8 to Memphis with 2 minutes left. And in my mind, I'm like sulking because I'm like, man, Memphis hasn't been any good forever.
Right.
And they're going to win a national championship. And we've been good. And I'm like thinking about this in my mind instead of, and I was on the end of the bench. I wasn't like a coach at the front where I needed to be. Yeah, there wasn't many decisions being made for me. I was just like more of a fan down there.
Just experiencing it.
I don't want you guys to think, seat. But I'm down there just sulking, bad body language, all the things I tell our guys not to do. And then we kind of inch back. And so when Mario Chalmers made the shot, like there's not many, but like I jumped so high in the air, like I think I could have dunked easy, and because I was so excited, like partly because of the game, but partly because like, we got a chance to win it. So when we won that was really, for a KU guy, Kansas kid who played there, all the things for me. I know a lot of people got joy out of that, but that was pretty cool. Yeah.
So awesome. You guys during the preseason, you guys always play KU in a preseason game, don't you guys?
We do so they play the Kansas team, so we play them every 4 years.
Every 4 years. Okay, so that's not a regular thing.
Not a regular. So they rotate between us and the other Division II schools in the state. It's a really cool opportunity. This year we played them. Very, very fortunate that they do that.
That's got to be super special for you, though.
It's awesome for me and for our players, because we have a lot of guys that, we recruit Kansas City, Wichita, Omaha. So we've got a lot of guys that are KU fans, or guys that at least have an appreciation for what that program's about. So to get to play out in Fieldhouse, for me, to coach there and our guys, it's awesome.
When you go into that preseason game, I mean, it's a preseason game, so, it's not I don't want to say it's not worth anything, but it's, it's a preseason game. What's your kind of message to your team going in against a powerhouse like the Jayhawks? Like, what do you tell them?
I mean, for me, if you and I are playing bags or ping pong or pickleball, like if we're keeping score, I like to compete.
Yeah.
So
it matters. If there's a scoreboard,
it matters,
then it
and especially when it's my team.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't go into that game like with delusions of grandeur that we're just going to go in there like.
Sure.
You do think, all right, if everything absolutely went perfect, maybe you could get it done. But the reality of it is, with the talent discrepancy, the coaching's pretty even, in my opinion. No,
Come
I'm
on.
just kidding.
That's right.
You guys are looking at me like,
that's what I was
that was
say.
a joke. You guys are supposed to laugh. You guys look bad. No, there's a little bit of discrepancy in the coaching, and so we're at a disadvantage there. And you got 16,000 fans that are cheering against us. But I think we try to use it as an opportunity to compete. We do want to go in there and try to play well. We want to try to execute in a high-stress environment. Knowing that, you take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. Like, we didn't play great this year against them. They really shot it well. They probably shot it as well. And after we got done playing, I was like, man, they're going to make a bunch of threes this year. And that just didn't play out for them.
Huh.
But it's a great experience. And we do try to get better from it. And I also want to help KU get better, because they don't have to do this. Like, they could go and play whoever. So I'm trying to help coaches' teams get better too, to a degree.
Yeah.
Cool.
What would you say the difference is? Not a big basketball guy, clearly didn't play. We're all at 5'8" over here. What would you say is the biggest difference between a Division II basketball player and a Division I basketball player?
Yeah, there's not as much difference as you probably think. I think our guys are very skilled. Sometimes there's a little bit of a skill discrepancy. The biggest thing is just the athleticism and length at that level. They just have, guys that are longer and more athletic in general. And there is a skill, there's discrepancy to a degree, but I've got really skilled guys. And I do have athletic guys, especially for this level. But you're talking about 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", 7'1", 7'2". And so it's just that athleticism is probably where I think you see the biggest differences.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. That's wild. Dude, so what have you been most excited about in the program the last 5 years?
Yeah. I'm really proud of the human beings that we're putting out into the world. Like, my mission as a basketball coach is obviously to win basketball games. That's ultimately what pays my paychecks. But it's really important to me that we're trying to help develop these young men to be prepared for life. And there's no question that, like, our guys are graduating, which is important. But I think we're helping instill the habits, the mindset, the principles that they're going to need in life to be great husbands, fathers, and contributors. And so we try really hard to preach that, to promote that, to live that, to breathe that, to make that our culture in our program.
Wow.
There's a lot of coaches that are really good basketball coaches, and they're gonna win basketball games, and they're gonna manipulate their players to do that.
Right.
But they don't necessarily prepare them for anything beyond that, and that's okay. Like, I'm not judging that. I have my own kids. I just personally want to try to help them be as good at basketball as they possibly can be, but also what are we doing within our program to help them be prepared, again, for what life's going to throw at them. And so there's a lot that goes into that. I'll say this, we try to recruit the right guys. So much of this is already done. Like, we've had great kids from great families. So it's not like I'm doing much. I'm just trying to keep the train moving down the track. Like, our parents have been phenomenal. We're recruiting a lot of really great people in here. We're just trying to build off of that as much as we can. So I'm really proud of what we've done on the court, but also, like, now, going to weddings and seeing these guys becoming parents and how well they're doing in life.
Seeing them out in the real world.
Like, that is cool as a coach, and knowing that hopefully had just a tiny bit of influence on that. Like, for me, that's cool. That's a big deal.
That is super
cool.
How
do you do that? What are some of the things you focus on that are preparing them for the real world? Like, how do you train them in that way?
I think it's, for me, I just try to model that, John, as much as I can through how I'm living my life. So, I try to have the right habits and discipline in place on a daily basis that shows those guys that, one, it really starts with my family, like trying to be, I want to be a great coach, but it's much more important to me to be a great you hear coach say this all the time now, but really, it's way more important to me to be a great husband and a great father. So I want our players to see that. Like when my wife is around, how I treat her with respect and I'm present in her life and our relationship. And I want them to see how involved in my kids' life and how important my kids are to me. So that stuff I just try to, we talk about that a little bit, but also I think
they see it.
You guys want to see it.
Absolutely.
I'm about actions.
Yeah. Dude, congrats. I think your son just graduated.
Yeah, I just graduated from high school.
Looks exactly like you in every way.
Yeah, that's a good compliment to him. So I'll make sure I pass that along. I don't know if he'll think that's a compliment.
He's like, hey, man, just know you're about to age really well.
Yeah,
you're going to age really well.
Yeah. He's a stud. I'm happy for him. He's coming to Washburn to play next year for me. So
he is?
He's coming up here to play. So
wow.
I'm proud of him. That was cool. Wife's been a little emotional. It's tougher. I said, I'm going to see him every day. So
it's not like he's really
sad.
going that far.
She's like, I'm not going to see him, but it's been great. Yeah. He's good. But family. And then I think just constantly, again, through how we run the program, having them try to meet a standard every day, which I think is important in life. Like, hey, can you show up every day and be ready and be present and really, for our coaching staff, being accountable to ourselves, but also to our players in that. We're trying to instill that academically. Again, we're going to give them the structure they need, but making sure they're responsible academically, making sure they know that that's important. And then there's a million other things. Being coachable is important because I think at some point they're going to have a boss that they're going to need to listen to.
Right.
And can you listen and retain information and execute a game plan? Respect is a big thing in our program. You may not, this last year's team was, and I know you had those guys on, they talked about it. This was as tight of a team as ever had. And I think that was great. That's not always the case. Like you guys have people that you work with that you work with them, but you may not hang out with them after work. And that's okay. But I think there has to be a level of respect for the organization to have success. So we talk about, respect and what that looks like all the time. We talk about not making excuses. I'm a big thing on that. Like, hey, find a way. Don't make excuses. We talk about handling hard. Like life is never going to get easy. So how do you handle hard? And so I could go across the board, but we just try to instill things that are going to help us on the court.
Right.
But we also talk a lot about, hey, not even how that impacts them as basketball players, but how that impacts them as human beings. When they're in that moment, I don't know that they always appreciate it because you know how you are when you're just like, oh, why is coach talking about this again? Like, I'm not a dad yet, or I'm not.
This does not matter to me.
I'm not married yet. I don't even have a girlfriend, whatever. Like, why is he talking about this stuff? But I'm hoping that they understand how some of these things will hopefully help them beyond that.
I think they mentioned a lot of those things when like the idea came up that, hey, this is preparing us for the rest of life too.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, props to that. I mean, the guys remembered all of the things you just said.
It's fresh on their mind.
Yeah.
It was recent.
I would even say more props because I feel like most people, they don't like getting a life lesson when they're getting it.
Yeah.
They appreciate the life lessons, years down the road. They remember what coach said. But, if you have players right now who are like, this was really good, yada, yada, it's like, it means you're doing something right.
Yeah. Those guys, again, I'll go back. Their families really, great foundation coming in. And then, I did think we had a really self-aware group that is able to be at a maturity level to handle some of that, whereas some players just aren't quite there yet, and that's okay. Different steps on the journey. But this group was a very mature group.
Yeah. Was it with the guys that we were talking about? There's something about the skill of getting feedback that outside of athletics doesn't seem like people are really getting a lot of like feedback, like being challenged, being held accountable to a high standard. It just seems like not a lot of kids in this younger generation, are even being given the opportunity to get kind of difficult feedback, maybe because of that, don't have the skills to handle it. You know, like, man, it just kind of crushes them, or you interpret it as rejection and, all those things instead of like, wow, this is kind of an opportunity to get better.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's crazy how much that will really set your guys apart going into the workforce. With just the ability to like, hey man, I can take it. It's not personal. Yeah. Give me your feedback. I just want to get better.
That's that's a great. I think that's a very interesting point. I think it's a great point. I think that, and I've talked to some of my former players now that are much older and are recently. I think that everybody has different advantages depending on what they did. If you're in the band or debate, or it doesn't have to be sports. Like my objectives from sports. So I do think there are some advantages to that. I don't want to say there's not advantages to doing a lot of other things. I think with sports, John, the thing, one of the things that helps along those lines is like I get on my guy, like I coach them hard at times, and it's high stress. And you're also doing an activity where there's thousands of people watching you in real time.
Yeah.
So like when
high
you mess
pressure.
up in real time, there's pressure.
Yeah.
There's pressure from your coaches, and we are very. I think we try to do a great job of building relationships off the court. We have a lot of fun off the court. Like we joke with our guys and we try to have fun off the court, but we have very direct communication and very honest communication. Whether that's during practice or in film sessions, good and bad. It's like, hey man, this was great. Hey, this was awful.
Right.
And it goes both ways.
Yeah.
A lot more positive than negative. But what I've heard from my guys is, some people go out in the real world and the boss has a standard, the company has a standard, and the boss, and I've heard from my players, like, the boss kind of got on us today because we didn't meet, whatever. And he goes, man, some of these people are just freaking out.
Wow.
And he goes, but for me, it was like direct player was like, has no impact. It was like, I've been through that a million times in your practices. So it was like, okay. Like it goes, honestly, it was like, he goes, it was a lot tamer than how you used to get on to us. So I was like, I don't know how to take that. But so I think
you're like, you're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. I know you didn't like very much in that moment, but I was helping you prepare. But I do think like sports and athletics, that's a positive that you've been through that stuff. And so when you are held to a standard or critiqued, like you say, or just feedback on something you need to do better, some people take that as like a certain type of way. I think athletes can potentially, not be impacted and use that as a positive. And I do think like we need to hold people to stand. I do think like a lot of people are afraid in this day and age to hold people accountable. Like keep lowering the bar. We need to keep the bar where it is and keep pulling people up. And that's how we all get better.
Yeah. There's a phrase I've been using lately, and it's like, you're like pulling greatness out of people. Yeah. It's like, it's there, but it's raw, it's undeveloped. And what you're trying to do is man, I'm trying to pull this greatness out of you. Like, how do we do that? And if we never give people the chance to respond to a standard of excellence and challenge, we do that in a disservice, and
it's hard. It's hard. There's a balance, and the timing and the communication, the relationship. There's so many dynamics to that. And I think that's, you can read all the books you want and you can listen to all the and all this stuff, but like there's a feel to that great leaders have, and coaches have, and bosses that the great ones have, on how you deliver that, the timing, and that part of it is hard. You have to keep experiencing that, but for sure, I do think in general that whether it's my profession or anybody, I think the accountability needs to be there.
That's awesome.
You a big reader?
Yeah.
Well, give us some of the books you're reading right now, or have read that have impacted you as a coach.
I just got done reading a book called "Let Them." It's the female. She has the podcast. Is it? Oh my gosh, I should know something. But it was great.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
She had the book, The 5-Second Rule, whatever that is. She's a big podcaster, almost as big as this one. Close. But it was good. It was just about like, hey, sometimes you can't control like what other people are doing or saying or thinking all the time. So don't let that impact your mental. I'm actually reading Bill Belichick's book he just put out, which I kind of feel a certain type of way right now about that right now, because he's got some other stuff going on that's kind of out there. So I'm kind of, like, my wife is like, "You're reading his book?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is just like a football book, like on leadership." But
he is one of the greatest coaches.
He's a phenomenal coach, so I'm reading his book. But I'll read
a polar of women.
Yeah, I'll try to read. I read a lot of leadership books, but coaching, I'm pretty active.
Well, I'm glad that you thought the "Let Them" book was good. That was my wife's phrase for 2025 was "Let Them." And I'm telling you, I don't even think she read the book. And she was just explaining this phrase to me, and she doesn't watch this, so I can talk about her all I want. She goes, "Let them, that's going to be my phrase." I'm like, I'm like, what does that even mean, Jesse?
When I got the book, because I had somebody's right, and my wife was the same way. She's like, "Oh, I heard great things about that book." And for the first chapter too, I was like, I don't know. And she's like, "What do you think about the book?" I was like, "It's okay." And then I thought it had some good. It's just like everything. You sort of take some things with a grain of salt and some that you like. But I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Do you have books like from, the first 5 years of coaching that were pretty like monumental for you? Like how you think about things?
Yeah. The Culture Code, Dean Smith's book on the Carolina Way, was really impactful on me. Nick Saban has a book that leadership book that's really good. Man, I've got I've got hundreds of books, so it's hard to necessarily just narrow down one. But
sure,
John Gordon's got some good ones out there that are simple reads, but the principles are good. The Energy Bus, it's so simplistic. Like, okay, but it is really as far as how you want to try to be as a person.
Totally.
I don't think we all ever quite get to 100% of that. But
John Gordon, is that the Carpenter?
Yeah, Carpenter, the Energy Bus. He's got a great series, and those are they're simplistic reads, but I think some of those principles are this is how I kind of want to be as a person.
Yeah, so good.
Well, do we want to transition into the reason we have you on this show?
Yeah.
So we recently, as you know, had Andrew, Jake, and Sam on the show.
Yeah.
And, we were just asking, we're chopping it up with them.
They were making some claims.
They were making some claims.
I heard.
And, you've heard.
I've heard.
Okay.
I watched it. I'm a big fan of the show. I told you this.
Let's just remind some of those who maybe have not have heard. We asked them 1v1, them three, taking you on, Coach Brett Ballard. And I quote, I believe it was Jake, but it came out of all three of their mouths in different ways. I would fry him. That's what they said.
Ironically, the first one to say it wasn't a starter. So I was this is interesting.
That's what they said. Yeah. So we wanted to bring you on, give you the floor, and let you defend your honor and let you have Adam.
Well, I felt bad for you guys because you guys have done such a great job of building this thing up. And all of the credibility. The credibility. What's the thing on Twitter when they can community notes you?
Right, yeah.
I'm pretty sure, I thought you guys were going to have to take that whole deal down because it was such an outlandish claim that I thought, you guys have worked so hard and then these guys come in here and you lose all credibility in one show.
Fake news.
Here's the thing. I've been giving these guys a hard time since I saw that. First of all, if it was now, I was like, are you guys talking about now? Because I'm 45 years old and haven't, I still work out all the time, but and they're I was like, were you talking about now or when I was a player? And so we discussed that. And I said, even now, because they said, hey, I beat you 11-0 or whatever. That is crazy talk, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting a basket. I'm getting at least 1 point. I grew up in the 90s, we're hand checking, we're fouling. You're going to have to, I'm getting 1 point. Now, when I played and I was a player, I think I could, hold my own against those guys. But 11-0 is crazy talk. So I'm not saying certainly right now they would kill me. And AO would give me problems because he's gigantic and he's got the size advantage. Sam and Jake they're all really good players. So I'm not trying to discount that, but that was crazy. They said I fry coach, I cook coach, and all that stuff. Come on, man, I'm gonna hold my own a little bit. But all jokes aside, those guys are hilarious. They did a great job on that was awesome interview, and I love those guys. I think that's a little bit of what we have. We can joke about that stuff, and we've been in the gym the last couple of weeks. I'll bring it up from time to time. I can't believe I'll be yelling that out in the gym, and we had some recruits in. I'm talking to these guys. Can you believe these guys said they could beat me like that? So we've had a lot of fun with it. But those three guys are all studs, and I miss coaching Jake and AO. They're both seniors. Sam got back for another year. AO was a 3-year starter. So he great players, really good guys. Now, a little outlandish with some of their takes. But for the most part, I thought it was a good interview.
Good guys. But
a little disappointing. You thought they could see reality more accurately.
Well, I always talk about self-awareness. I had an interview with the Capital Journal this year, and they said, what's one of the things you like about this team? I said, well, these guys are really self-aware. I like self-aware people. And I thought these guys were very self-aware until I heard that.
Apparently,
I don't know. I'm wrong.
AO mentioned that he's maybe got some opportunities to play overseas.
He's going to go play. He signed with an agent, and he
did. Okay.
He signed with an agent. Doesn't have an official job yet, but he'll play somewhere overseas, which is awesome. Jacob Hanna signed with an agent. He'll play somewhere overseas, which is cool. Those guys have the opportunity to go Spain, France, Italy, somewhere probably in Europe. And there's some pretty good pro leagues over there and have an opportunity. It's kind of cool for two reasons. One, you're over there, so you experience another part of the world. And two, you're playing basketball for a living. And that's a great opportunity.
How common is that, Division II guys going to play overseas?
More than you probably think, but you got to be pretty good at a Division II ranks to get those opportunities. You know, Division I, obviously more common, but we've had a handful of guys do it, and excited for those guys.
That is awesome. Cool. So earlier we were just talking about this last season, and you're saying, hey, you know, a lot of the seasons before that were still very good. In your mind, do you consider this last season kind of a special high mark compared to those, even though those were,
for sure,
you added a lot? And then where does that put you now moving forward in light of, man, we just had this kind of wild season?
Yeah. Well, to answer the first part of that question, this season, I thought we've had some really good seasons. I think what's hard for people to understand is a lot of people in this area are KU or K-State fans. So when you say, hey, I made the tournament, they're like, okay. And it's kind of cool, but they don't understand in Division II, there's only 8 teams out of our region. It's like there's some other regions that just aren't very good.
Right.
So like
there might be a team that can make it every year.
Yeah, but they're going to get 8 in from that region. And we would dominate that region.
Right.
Or the teams in our league would dominate that region. There's some regions just aren't as good. They do that in Division II for financial reasons, so that they can save money on travel initially on that part of the tournament.
Oh, sure.
So like when you make the 8 out of our region, it's a big deal. And I just think and it's okay. I mean, people just don't know what they don't know, but it's like, oh, you made the tournament. Oh, that means if you're the top 8 in this region, it's basically like making a Sweet 16 in the NCAA Division I tournament in a way. It's kind of the way I would envision it. So cool. And Washington's been to 4 or 5 Sweet 16s. Like, oh wow, that's pretty impressive. But I thought we definitely, you win the league, win the region, go to the Final Four, lose in the semifinal. Like this team, not only with that, but just the way we played. Our average margin of victory was almost 20 points a game.
Yeah, it was wild.
We led the conference in points, assists, field goal percentage, led Division II in attendance. So I thought that this team, for sure, a special year. How do you replicate that? And I've thought about this a lot because, for me, I've already moved on. How my job is now, how do we talked about that standard. How do you get back to that standard?
Right.
And I think I've had 2 thought processes behind it. I think part of it is you have to have a reality to the players coming back about how hard it is to accomplish that. So I always try to get our guys to respect the work. And it's kind of like if you're telling me, John, like, hey, if you're going to tell me, I'm big on this, like, hey, you live in Kansas City. I'm like, hey, how long is it going to take me to get to your house? And like people are like, oh, it takes like 30 minutes. And well, it's really like 50 because by the time you get so I want to know what the path might look like. And I think it's important to your team to paint the picture of last year was great. To replicate that's going to be really, really hard. It's hard to win. It's hard, especially because the target's going to be bigger on your back. We lost good players, all that stuff. So I want our guys to understand how hard it's going to be, but on the flip side, that we can do that again.
Wow.
Because we have a standard, because we have the right people in the room, because I think as a coaching staff, we're going to be prepared because of all the things that I think we can control. Like, I think we can control so many things that factor into winning. Like, I do believe we can get back, and I do believe with the roster I have right now, we just signed a couple transfers, and I believe with what we have in place, like, we have the ability to get back to what we were. Now, again, I go back to it. That doesn't mean that's just going to happen. You don't just show up and that happens. And years like that, there's a reason that Washburn hadn't won that many games, but twice in our 100 years of basketball. Wow. So, you put things in perspective, but also, what makes Kansas elite or Alabama football elite, or, you go across the board, like there's an expectation that we can go back and do that again if we put the work in.
Like the possibility is there.
No question.
It's not like a program that's never touched that level before.
Yeah, it's not like this was like, and I'll hear people saying, well, you caught lightning in a bottle, or all these terms you can use. And yes, I'm not discounting anything that was a special year, and there's some luck involved with staying healthy and all the pieces fitting. But
right.
I truly believe with what we have in place, with the resources we have, we haven't talked about Washburn yet, but incredible resources over there. leadership. Dr. Mazicek and her team are phenomenal. My athletic director, Lauren Ferre, and our leadership there, the facilities, the resources. We have the things in place at Washburn that'll help us along with the coaching staff and the players. Like there's ingredients there for that to be elite again.
Wow.
They're in the middle of redoing Lee Arena, aren't they?
Correct. Yes.
What's all going on there? What kind of changes can we expect?
Yeah, it's awesome. So we're putting over $5 million into the gym.
Wow.
Yeah. So right now, if you walked into Lee Arena, there's no bleachers, there's no floor. They had completely gutted it. So they've taken everything out. So that floor that was in it, that Lee was built in the mid '80s. That was the original floor.
Wow.
And so we'll have a brand new floor, brand new bleachers. Our bleachers were those tan bleachers, which are kind of like 1980s. Yeah. And I feel like we probably should have kept them because I feel like everything comes back in style.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like tan's going to be back in like 5 years. Or like, we got to paint the bleachers back tan. But they looked really dated. So like brand new bleachers, brand new floor, new video boards, new lighting, upgraded sound system, new goals. So new branding. So it was already a good spot. Like the Cat Fed room that we had down there, that's big time.
Incredible.
I don't know if you guys saw you guys at some games, but like, he gets going at no invite to the Cat Fed room.
Invite,
you haven't been if you sponsor the Washburn University basketball
team. I thought my friend who got invited might invite me to go with him, but
yeah, man, did you do a podcast with a guy?
I know. I guess we're not actually friends outside.
We see each other twice a month.
Just podcast friends.
I appreciate you guys. I see you guys at the game, so I appreciate that. But the Cat Fed room was awesome. That was new last year, so that'll still be there, obviously. And then new everything in the arena. They're working on that entire summer. That'll be done next fall.
You know what I think an underrated part of that Cat Fed room is the top level. I mean, you can watch games from the top level with the tables. That is a super cool place to watch.
It worked out well.
It does look like it would be cool. If
it is really cool.
Someday, John,
it is really
watch
cool.
a game from that place.
Keep developing that relationship. Maybe someday you'll get to go up there.
Yeah, I love inside jokes. Wish I could be part of one someday.
That's cool. Does the basketball team have any use for that big indoor facility? Do you guys use that at all for anything, or is that more of a football track?
Yes and no. So my first 3 or 4 years here, we didn't have that. So the pole vault team, they had a pole vault mat in our gym, and there was a hole cut out in the floor for where they put. There's probably a name for that, but where they put the pole vault in. So I used to joke with the pole vault coach, great dude. I said, I think you guys schedule your practices for the exact same time that we practice every day, because anytime we went to gym, they were in there. And I swear, when we weren't in there, they weren't in there. It's not, I'm joking, because but so they would be in there practicing. Baseball would be in there throwing in the wintertime. Track would be in there on the sides.
Oh, wow.
We'd have shot putters down on the south end because we didn't have the indoor at that time. So when it's cold out, from November through into February, they needed a place to train. So Lee Arena became an indoor facility that was a basketball court, and we'd have all this stuff going on. It was beneficial in some ways because we had to get used to practicing with all this stuff going on around us.
Oh, yeah.
So that part of it was actually kind of beneficial because I got used to like trying to coach through all that because they needed a place to go.
Right.
So when they built the indoor, now they all have a place to train. So it's nice for us because nobody's in our gym. So it's a much better learning environment.
That's interesting. Didn't think about that.
We don't use it a ton, other than we do condition in there in the preseason a couple times. We'll go on the turf and do a little bit, and then we do use the track to do some of our conditioning stuff a handful of times during the year when we're doing our preseason stuff. And it's interesting when you go on the turf how small how much bigger a football field is than basketball, just because we'll get out there and do some stuff. And it seemed that it's obviously not quite a full-size football field. Width-wise it is. It's a little bit shorter lengthwise because it's indoor. But it's awesome. That facility's amazing.
Yeah. I have had a buddy. I had a buddy who was coach at Washburn talking about all the facilities. This was like 8 or 9 years ago, just talking about how much nicer Washburn is than any other Division II. Do you have a similar opinion as far as when you're recruiting guys that facilities just kind of blow away your competition, makes your job easier, or what do you think?
It's definitely, we're definitely at the top as far as overall facilities. I mean, there's some other places that are doing some good things, but we for sure across the board, we need with our campus and our facilities, we're towards the top of Division II. I mean, that
Wow.
indoors is nice. Really, not many people have an indoor, but especially one with a track and a football field.
Yeah.
Right.
Our basketball arena is going to get upgraded. We have a practice gym, our weight room. So for sure, when we and I heard you guys talking about this to the guys, and it's true, when we get guys when we get recruits on campus, they're always very impressed.
Wow.
And so I appreciate what our boosters and what our leadership's done to enhance our facilities.
Yeah. Shout out to Cap Fed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
They've been great. No, the Cat Fed's a very important part of our community, and especially at Washburn, they've been phenomenal.
Yeah.
What's the best and worst part of coaching?
I'll start with the worst. I think the worst is just the stress of trying to win games for me. It's really hard to win, and the margin is so thin. And so I really, truly wish I was better at handling that. And I work on that. I mean, so my faith is important to me and my family, and I try to stay balanced because I think like that's important in life, but also to help me be the best version of myself as a coach. But it's really stressful, like to try to figure out how do you win. And then part of that is you're trying to figure out 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old brains,
Right.
what buttons you push, and how do we get the best version out of them, and constantly learning and evolving from that perspective.
Wow.
Like, every kid's different, every team's different. So that part of it is part of what I like, but also really challenging. So I think the thing, the stress, the game day stress, and figuring out how to win games is probably for me the toughest thing. The best thing, a lot. I mean, I love my job. So I love.
Do you realize how awesome your job is?
I do.
Okay.
I don't mean that anyway. That sounds probably comes off sounding really.
No,
bad.
not at all. Not at all.
I don't want that to sound the wrong way, but I do appreciate, like, if you would have told me when I was like 7 years old, dude, you're going to coach college basketball for a living, I would have been like, what? Like, that's like, or when I was 17 years old, like, hey, dude, you're going to coach college basketball for a living. I'm like, what? That's great. Like, no way. And so, kid growing up in Hutchinson, Kansas, that like, it's not many people got these opportunities.
Right.
So, and at a place like Washburn, like, I'm very, very grateful. And I love competing. So I like that part of my job. I love to compete. I love teaching. So I really enjoy the teaching part of it because my dad was a teacher, and that's in my heart, kind of what I wanted to do. So I enjoy the teaching part of it. I really enjoy trying to help young people instill confidence in themselves, belief in themselves. And again, we've said this a million times, but be the best, help them be successful and be a part of that journey is so awesome. And it's just fun being around college kids, man. Like, they're funny.
Yeah.
You guys, they're funny. They're fun. They keep me younger.
Yeah.
Like, I love messing with them. I still feel like, I know I'm older, but I still feel like I'm young at heart. So I just love that interaction. And, they're still staying at that same age. And I enjoy being around that age. And they're still on the journey of like figuring out who they are, but they're mature enough to like have good conversations with you. And we can joke about LeBron and Jordan, or we can talk about faith and religion, or we can talk about whatever. Like, the conversations can go wherever, but I enjoy just being around our guys.
Will it be weird next year with your son there? Being like, hey, my son is now the age that I've been coaching for years.
It's funny, at his graduation, I was like looking at some of these people, and I feel like they're so much older than me, and I'm like, oh, I'm the same age as these people. So I think I've just dated. I think I'm just older than I think I am. But I think there's going to be so much positive. Like, I've talked to Coach Self and some other people that coach their sons, and everybody's like, oh man, it's great. But I do think there's some challenges there, because I know what happens, like, after a hard practice. I know what happens in the locker room, right? Those guys go back and they're like, man, coach is tripping, and man, this guy's nuts, and we got to come back. I know what happens in that locker room. I mean, I get it. That I'm not everybody's buddy in there. That's not how it should be. I don't want it to be that way. And I think as a coach's kid, like, you understand that. But I'm always like, well, that's he's gonna be in there like, it's just bashing me, But I also think like he'll handle that the right way. We got great guys that'll embrace him. I think I'm really excited because he'll work hard. He's a great kid. Like, I think that dynamic is awesome. But there's certainly some things that I think I don't think there's any big negatives to it, but there's some challenges to that. I know, like, we were joking, like, we have a bad practice. He's going to come home and complain to mom, Hey, man, this coach is
married to that guy.
This coach is, and she's going to be like, I know. And she's going to be on his team. Like, hey, we're on a team here. We're on a team.
How
like,
could you marry that guy?
Yeah. Like, I know that coach is an idiot.
Wow. That's amazing. This kind of transitions. So you said this is your 8th or 9th year?
8th year, yeah.
This is your 8th year. So not necessarily like decades and decades, but like it's enough time to see some generational changes in the kinds of kids coming into college. I'm curious, have you seen any like patterns of like what is different about today's college student or even today's player? Like, what are the biggest challenges that an 18-year-old has today that maybe they didn't have 10 years ago?
That's a good question. I think a couple things. I don't know that I've seen monumental changes necessarily.
Right.
I think that social media has in many ways made things much more challenging for kids in this generation. And I know you guys talked about that and you addressed that, for a living, John, in some ways, right? Like you're trying to help people navigate that. Because of everything, everybody is comparing everybody's life to what you see on, like you guys see some of my life through social media, and I'm putting, I just posted pictures last night on Instagram and Facebook of my son's graduation. It's like, oh, that looks amazing. And in that situation, it was.
Yeah. Or cutting down the net after a huge win.
Down the net. But we're not posting, we lost 2 on the road at Oklahoma, and I'm on the bus wanting to puke, and we're not posting the bad stuff, and nobody does really.
Right.
And so I think our players and just life and kids in general, just constantly the message is, oh, I'm not good enough, or it's not as good, or, and for comparison is a thief of joy. Like that's so true. And it's hard I'm guilty of that. Like I'll be looking at other programs like, oh man, this coach is 38. He's already won 2 championships, and I'm comparing myself to this guy or this program, or hey, look what they just got that recruit and we didn't get him. And you just get everything thrown in your face. Yeah. So I do think we try to help them navigate that. We talk all the time about just being thankful and grateful for what we have, and that what they're doing is special, and what, the opportunity they have at Washburn is special, and taking advantage of that, and don't compare yourself to others. So I've tried to help with that part. I think a little tiny bit is and we talked about it's very, we're going to show us this perfect. I get nervous about us lowering standards. It's like, well, we're not taking this test score anymore as a standard, and we lowered this. Oh, you don't need this standard to get in anymore. And we're not looking at that anymore. And there's some positives to that without question, because there were some biases there, and I'm not saying all that stuff's negative, but at some point, like if we keep lowering that bar, then like, okay, does it mean something to come to be at Washburn or whatever that may be? So, I do think as a society, that kids and parents, we just keep trying to instill the right habits and discipline into them, and accountability, and those things I think should still matter in our lives. And young people, I think they actually crave structure in a way. I think they fight it a lot, but I think structure for the most part is really good for most of us. I know it's good for me. I think for most young people, some of that structure is good. They fight you on it. And I know, sometimes as a parent in the moment, that's hard. Yeah. You've been there, your kid's screaming, and it's sometimes in the moment that I'm just going to give in this moment, because it's like, I was guilty of that as a parent all the time, like giving in, and, they're whining and complaining. It's like, okay, here, like, I just
fine. I won't. I don't want to be a hard ass right now.
If you consistently do that, then it's like you never teach them the right thing. So just in general, I think what we're trying to do as a program is it's hard because then people, you're old school,
it's a generational thing.
I have to be careful because it's like, well, I want to go play for a player's coach. That's a term that gets thrown. I want to go play for a player's coach. And listen, there's some old school mentalities that I don't think any of us would think is appropriate in this day and age. But I do think there's, like I'll use Nick Saban as an example. Like Coach Saban was so good for so long, not because he was easy to play for, but he recruited the right way. And then again, the daily standard was there, and his kids craved that, and they were rewarded because of that. Now, a lot of people would say he's an old school coach, but I think there's some aspects of that we got to keep, and then you keep progressing with the generation. Like a lot of what I do now is explain the why a lot more than I did early in my career.
Okay.
This generation, I think, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think these kids want to know why. Like, we're doing this drill, and it used to be, hey, we're going to do this drill, and you kind of just did the drill. Well, now, hey, here's why we're doing this real quick. Like, this is why we're doing this, because this is important to our ball screen coverage.
Right.
This is going to help us in these scenarios. Okay. And like when they know the why is there for this generation, which isn't a bad thing. I think it's good to kind of want to know why you're doing certain things in life. And then there's also sometimes you just need to go do it. But we try to explain the why a little bit more. And maybe that's probably for sure for me, from when I first started coaching till now, that part of it's definitely changed. Like explaining the why part through film, through our communication with them.
Right. That is interesting, because I think I found myself doing something similar, but not necessarily being as in tune with the reasoning as, you know, you're seeing this along kind of longer pattern. Yeah. Of like maybe back in the day, there was more, not comfort's not the right word. They were used to being held to a high standard and maybe even comfortable with authority, maybe in a different way, where it's like, hey, you're the boss. I do what you say. Yeah. Now it's kind of like, why should I listen to you? Yeah. You know, and it's not. Or why are we doing this? I think any boss, like, okay, well, told me to do this, but why are we doing this? Right. And again, I think like on some level, that's not always a bad thing. It's sometimes you just blindly follow people, and that can't always be good. But I think, you know, it's like they kind of, well, here's why we're doing this, because this is good for this, or this is going to do, you know, I think there's probably more of that. I don't know. I sometimes I feel I really don't want to be that old crotchety coach that's like complaining about the younger generation. I try not to be that guy, because I love this generation. My son's a part of it, and we got some great, like there's so many, we talk about, you look for the positive, you look for the negative, man. This generation is doing so many positive things, and there's so many great kids out there that are going to have work ethic and relationships and communication and all that. Yeah. So I think we get enamored by the ones that don't have that or are struggling, and we want to label a whole generation that way. But I think there's so many good things with these young people, and I know just for the ones I'm around, I love being around them. It's awesome. When you guys eventually get a national championship, what would you like to see in terms of like citywide celebration? You know, like what should be the response when that happens?
Well, I mean, that is an ultimate goal, and that is honestly what I'm working for. I mean, I have some goals along the way. We met some of those, but there's no question in my mind that we can do that here at Washburn, and I'm working really hard to get that done. Last year, so we've been top 12 in Division II attendance every year since I've been here. So we've had great crowds since I've been here. Last year, we were number 1 in attendance. So you guys were there, some of those regional games, the way the community came out, it was just a different level. It helps when you win, but also I think just like we got a vibe going. Yeah. People came, and I think people are like, man, this is an awesome product. And our marketing staff, everybody, they did a great, like you came to the games, had fun. Our games aren't as long because we don't have TV timeouts, so you can bring your kids.
Oh, totally.
The tickets are affordable, concessions affordable, and it's a fun environment. So like, and you can be home before bed. Like, there's a lot of positive things to it. So like the way the community supported last year was great. You know, I think if we could win a national championship, I think there'd be so many positives but I've always thought about, you guys probably don't pay attention to this, but like when you drive down I-70 or come in 435 on the road, it says Washburn University. Yes. And underneath it, you know what it says?
No,
it says National Champions, Women's Basketball, 2005. And it says National NAI, because there was NAI at that time, Men's Basketball, 1986.
Oh, wow.
So those are on there.
Yeah.
And I was like, how cool would that be? Because think about how many people drive by that.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You having to pay attention, so you got to lock into that next time.
I exit before those are shown on I-70.
So I'm like, that would be pretty cool. That one's been up there since 86. So,
wow.
40 years almost.
Wow.
And I'm like, you know, that'd be pretty cool to be like, you drive past that. I was the coach of that team.
That's really
kind
cool.
of it's a little bit corny, but it's a little bit of a motivation thing for me.
Huge,
like,
bro.
I try not to, I'm not real big on the individual like that, but like, I think that'd be really cool when I'm 65 and hopefully done coaching, and I'm driving past that like I coached that team.
So
That
that'd be
is super
before or
cool.
after they put the 50-foot statue of Brett Ballard,
Yeah, right. Well,
the center of
that's
campus.
not happening. So I'm not,
I thought it was cool this year, and I was telling the boys when we had them on, this was the first year where I found myself talking to my wife saying, hey, we should go to Johnny's to watch the Washburn game on TV.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? I'm like, they're in the Final Four. Like, we should go watch that game somewhere.
Yeah,
It's always
yeah.
the Super Bowl.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or the king. Okay. You're
I get it, the big games, but it was so cool. Like, I said it out
awesome.
loud, and we made plans to go there. And we're sitting there watching the game. I'm like, this is the first time I've ever done this. And I went to Washburn. And so that was super cool. And shout out to your guys' program
big
for
time.
creating a culture and a product where the community is super bought in.
For sure.
Yeah,
I saw some video.
absolutely.
Somebody sent me from Johnny's and maybe one for Bullfrogs or whatever. And during our, I think, Elite Eight or Final Four game. And it was like everybody's like, it was cool. That was awesome. And, just going to the store and stuff, people recognizing or just saying, appreciate that. I really appreciate the support of the community.
That's super cool.
Do you ever get community feedback out in public like, hey coach, you should have done this, you should have done that?
One thing about
Like
way.
Friday Night Lights.
Oh yeah. Well, you get feedback, right?
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
And so I think you're in a profession like this. So on a certain level, like a lot of people played sports. So on a certain level, everybody thinks on a certain level, like I can do what he does
Right,
on a certain
yeah.
level, right?
Yeah.
And I always like say this, use like when I go to the dentist and he's doing a root canal, I never think, man, I could do that better.
Right.
Or I would have done that
my
different. Like I
Yeah.
would have used that pick instead. Like I don't know. But on my job in particular, it's like people come and regardless, like, even if we win, people are like, I probably would have done.
Right.
So that part of it, I don't love all of that because some of them like, listen, we put a lot of time and effort and like there's a lot that goes into this.
I'm thinking about this all the time. It's my full-time job. Yeah.
Same with what you. It's like I put a lot of time and effort and thought, like, and I get you can pick this little part
Sure,
apart, but there's a million. But at the same time, I do understand that's part of it. And I think that so I was thinking about this. So I'm going to sound old again, but when I used to turn on Sports Center, they would show like a 3 or 4 minute highlight of the game. It's like, and it may not be like a playoff game, just like a KU versus Missouri. And it was like 3 minute like all these highlights. And then it'd go to the next game and show highlights. And then, so you'd see like all these highlights from the game. Now it's like 30-second highlight and then 3 minutes of debating, why did Jokic do this or this or this call? Like, so it's turned into this society that we debate sports more than we watch sports.
Right.
A little bit. And obviously it sells. There's a reason they do it. It sells.
Right.
It's like the whole like Jordan LeBron thing. Like I don't mind. Like it's fun, but sometimes we just don't appreciate. Like, how about we just appreciate how good LeBron is and just enjoy
like
that, or
them.
Kobe or Steph or whoever. And I think it kind of creeps into every part of it. So I do think like people are more critical now maybe than ever. Even I go to my like youth sports games, like just be quiet, watch, and it's fine.
Yeah.
But I think part of society, I would like to see us just like let the coaches coach, let people do their jobs. But it's been great as far as just the support. And most people are really supportive and positive. So But every once in a while I get some suggestions.
In public, you get people ever stop you?
Yeah.
Oh,
hey,
my
coach.
gosh.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That makes me uncomfortable.
It's okay. Not all that often, but it's okay.
Stopping you at Walmart. Hey, man, I have some
I'm
thoughts on that last game.
Yeah.
Hey, with your kids.
So I guess getting that feedback from the community, does it make it easy for you to watch your son play and be coached by his high school coach and you just get to sit there as a dad? Or is that still tough sometimes?
It is still tough. And I empathize with anybody who has a kid playing a sport because you're seeing it through your perspective. And every one of us want our kids to have a certain experience.
Right.
And so it's really hard. And even for me, now I let my kids' coaches coach them. One thing in my house growing up, I never heard my parents talk bad about a teacher or coach.
Wow.
Never. And so I always thought I had great coaches and great teachers. And it's funny because years later, like my dad was talking about one of my coaches when I was younger, and he's like, that guy was a little, and I never heard that in the house. So when I was playing for that guy at that time, when I was younger, it was like, oh no, he's a great coach. And I've tried to really, and I don't say, I'm not saying it's the perfect way to parent, but I really believe in like respecting your coach. Cause like, even if I talk bad about him, is it going to change anything in the moment for them?
Is that going to help your son
Probably
play
just
on
creates
his team?
an excuse, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so I never in front of them will say, and they've had great coaches, so I don't, but about a teacher or a coach, and they've had really good ones for sure. It's still challenging for me because, especially in basketball, it's what I do. And there's certain things that certainly I would maybe do a little bit differently. It doesn't make it right or wrong, but I don't express those verbally in front of other people or to my son. I may talk about it to my wife in a private conversation, but for the most part, man, we've been really blessed, and they've had great coaches on the way. And part of me too is like these high school coaches, middle school coaches, youth coaches, they're doing it out of the good. Like they're not making that much money.
Right.
You know, these middle school teachers are making like $500 maybe to coach the team, maybe. And the high school coach is not much more. So like, thank you for the time you spent doing this stuff. And I try to, you know,
what a good perspective.
That. But it's hard. It is hard because if your kid doesn't have a good experience, man, first person that a lot of times you want to put it on is the coach. And not all the coaches are perfect. I know that, but most of them are doing the best they can.
That's a great perspective. We should clip that and send that to all the parents in Topeka.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, some rapid fire questions to get you out of here.
Do it.
So we like to end our time with some rapid fire questions. We usually ask the same ones if we remember them, but we'll start with go-to date night in Topeka. You're taking your wife out. Where are you going?
Good question. A couple options here. I really like what they've done downtown. So we may go to Iron Rail or the Pennant. Like I like the Pennant because you can go like play some video games and like do some. Again, I like to compete. So like it's like we're on a date night, but I can beat her in some video games.
Yeah.
You know, and really puff my chest about beating her in NBA 2K or NBA Jam.
Let's go.
You know, but
triple front flip dunk.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
fire.
He's on fire. Yeah, and she's really fired up about playing. She's like, "Why are we playing this video game?" Like, be quiet. I'm trying to. You know.
I need this right now.
Yeah, but no, I like the downtown vibe's awesome. But we live kind of southwest side, so anywhere on Wanamaker's good. But I'll say downtown.
Yeah,
for sure.
Love it.
Love it.
Go to coffee shop. Are you a coffee drinker?
Oh yeah. So I have a Keurig in my office, so that's usually my go-to. But Big Circle coffee guy. Really like the vibe over there. Good people over there.
Yeah.
PT's coffee is good. And then the one on 29th that. Oh my goodness! They have special needs people working there.
Dialogue.
Yeah, Dialogue.
Yeah.
Honestly, it wasn't up on them until just last couple, maybe a year or so ago, but try to pop through there and love what they're doing for the
They have
community.
a really good bakery.
Yes.
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I don't stop and get coffee every day because I do it in my office, but I like, and there's other good ones. So I don't want, but PT, Circle, and Dialogue's awesome.
Heck yeah.
That's awesome. So it's come up a few times, but where do you stand on the MJ LeBron debate?
You know, I'm an MJ guy.
Yeah.
I just thought MJ was the ultimate competitor, and like I'm an MJ. That's what I grew up watching. You know, he's my era. Respect the heck out of LeBron though. Like the longevity, he's been consistently good. I think LeBron maybe long term will be more like Kareem. Kareem did it for a long time. Won championships, was consistently great for a really longer than Jordan. And maybe LeBron, when it's all maybe be like more like that. Now I know there'll be people yelling and screaming about that think, you know, LeBron's way better than Jordan. But I like watching LeBron too. He's been great for forever.
Watching that Jordan documentary, as not a basketball guy, but watched it, really enjoyed it. Have you seen it? You should watch it.
Last Dance?
Last Dance, yep.
Yeah.
Really good. It changed my entire perspective on competitiveness and whether or not I'm a competitive person. I thought I was a competitive person. You know, everyone thinks I don't like losing. Watched the documentary and I went and told my dad and I said, I'm not a competitive guy. Like I am nothing like that. And I'm thinking back to my high school athletics. I'm like, nope, wasn't competitive then. I didn't care, you know, and I just kind of some self-awareness after watching that. Like that guy is an animal.
There's probably some good and bad about like that level of, you know, cause you know, if MJ doesn't win, then then that turns into just being a jerk. Like there's such a fine line between some of that stuff that he was doing. Now he won, and so like now you can justify all of it.
Sure.
But Jordan was just that competitive, and that's part of what's hard. Like to get yourself up for that again and again and again. Like that competitive stamina that you have to have. Like Patrick Mahomes has shown that so far, like that competitive stamina to get yourself up to that level is really hard. And that's why a lot of guys at the end kind of fall off, because it's just hard to get yourself to that level relentlessly.
Are you a golfer?
Yeah.
Favorite golf course in Topeka?
Cypress is probably where I play the most.
Let's go, yeah.
So Cypress is like a good track. I just played out there the other day. So that was actually the first time I played this year. I'll play a handful of times. Life and kids, and it's not a huge priority for me right now. I'm hoping that once the kids get a little bit older, I have a little more time. But I like Cypress, Lake Shawnee's probably second.
Yeah. Being super competitive, is golf hard for you?
Golf is so hard for me because I would just out tough things in general. Like I wasn't the biggest, strongest, but like I'm gonna out tough it and out compete it and outwork it. And golf is, I just played the other day with some guys, and we played a scramble for a charity event. And out of the 4 guys, I was probably the worst. Not probably, I was the worst. So I'm feeling this like pressure, which I don't want to feel. I just want to be out there having fun, and I can't out tough it. So I can't just I'm just going to out tough you in this game. Right. It's like this mental space you have to get in. So I think it's really good for me. It's just in the moment, sometimes I'm like, I hate this. Like, why am I doing this to myself? Right. And then I'll hit a good shot, and it's like, oh, I'm awesome. And I'm it's like, I'm so good at it.
I can be so great at this.
I'm great at it. Like, I'm a great golfer, and then I'll hit 2 shots that look like I'm. Yeah. And so I didn't play ever growing up, and I'm just kind of getting into it. Yep. That's my excuse. I've probably been playing long enough. I should probably be better, but I'm trying to get there. It's such a great sport to like. Long-term play. Have you
read the book Grit by Angela Duckworth? Whenever I'm playing golf, I love playing golf. I think of that book every time, where the premise of the book, if you can sum it up in a sentence, is consistency beats talent. Yep. And golf, for a lot of us, are getting our competitive edge out playing that sport now that we're retired athletes. It's like, you're just not going to be talented at golf. Like there's very few people that just show up and are just good at it. Right. And so it's like, hey, you have to be consistent. You have to show up. You have to.
I've been going to the range more consistently the last 2 years, and it's amazing like how much that's helped me. And that's a great book, by the way. That's a very, very good book.
Wow. What's 1 or 2 things that you would like to see come to Topeka?
Well, I'm fired up that we're getting Raising Cane's and that's a big clap. My kids, I think, would eat that every meal. And what else? Whataburger's another solid option we're getting. Yeah. I'm a Brahms guy.
Okay.
So do we have a Brahms? No,
we don't.
Do we not get a Brahms? I thought we were getting one.
Well, I don't know if we are, but we don't currently have one.
I'm not currently have one. Guy, so would love to see Brahms come to Topeka. The other thing we need in Topeka from a sports perspective is a facility where we can host tournaments. Volleyball and basketball. Like I'm on the sports commission, and we've been throwing it around, but like we go to Kansas City all the time for my kids' games, so we need from a sports facility someplace where we can host teams to come to watch to Topeka. One, so we can be here economically. I think it'd be great. We also need turf fields for soccer. Like soccer things blowing up, we all drive to Lawrence or Kansas City for a lot of that. A lot of us do, and Topeka Soccer Club's got some good stuff going on down there, but we need some more turf fields. And so from a sports side, I'd like to see us invest, because it's economically going to be very beneficial for the city.
Well, we'll end with the final hot topic rapid fire question we always ask. You're doing a home project. Lowe's, Menards, Home Depot. What are you doing? Where are you going?
Ace Hardware.
Ace Hardware.
Ace is the place.
Curveball.
Listen, I'm an Ace guy. Those other ones overwhelm me too much.
Yeah.
Okay? Too much stimuli. Like there's 87 rows. I don't know where anything's at. There's 57 screws to choose from. I like Ace. Instead of 57, there's only 45. And it's like, the guy's going to come ask you, like, they're so friendly.
Yeah. Right.
And they know what they're doing. Like, they're like, and they genuinely want to help you, because I'm bad when it comes to that stuff. So they're like, hey, what do you need? Here's what I'm doing. Wow. Like, most of the time they can be like, hey, here's what you need. Here's how you do it. Boom, boom. I'm in and out. So
Love it.
I'm throwing you a curveball now.
Finally, where can viewers find you? Are you on social media?
Yeah. Well, a couple things. So, come out, support the team. Come out next year to the game. Summer camps. I've got some summer camps coming up. So go to woosports.com/camps.
Perfect.
So if you go on the website, go to the camps. We have, I really believe this. I think we have great camps. Like we do a good job. Like, energy. We're going to help you get better. We're going to have a ton of fun. We skew it by age. So if you're just learning to play basketball, you're going to have fun. If you're more advanced, we're going to separate you so that you can be getting better and the younger ones can be getting better. So please, if you need a camp, sign up for our camps.
And what age group is that for?
2nd through 8th grade, boys and girls.
You're too old.
Cool.
Yeah, but if you want to come, we can teach you. What do you want to learn?
Yeah.
Step back.
We want to learn how to dunk.
Well, we do have the lower goals, so we can do that. But go to camps and then, if we'd love people coming out. My sport, football, soccer, come support the stuff. If you live in Topeka, man, we got a lot of great
so
stuff.
So something like
parents
campus. Can just like register their kids for, bring their kids to a camp.
Yep.
Cool.
On the website, and our guys all work them. Our players will be their coaches. I run them all. It's high energy. It's a ton of fun. Like,
cool.
People come to our camps and it's a blast. So if you're looking for a summer camp, just get into basketball or have been playing a little bit, come check us out.
Sweet. Sounds good.
Dude, thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
This was great.
Yeah,
I feel like we could have gone like 2 more hours.
No,
this was so good.
Thank you guys.
Cool.
Thanks for what you're doing.
Appreciate
Appreciate it.